In this video, we'll take you all the way down to 19K, but then all the way up to 190K. Bitcoin, crypto, morning tea, hey. Good morning, everybody. My name's pianomattyb. That is Scaramucci's. And this is your morning tea. A brief glimpse into the crypto markets, where the sun's shining, where the winds blow. All the humble opinion of this piano Zamboni bringing the The FOMO index has inched up to 54 from yesterday's 52. Bitcoin dominance is 48.7%. 24-hour volume is 28 billion. The overall market cap is 1.16 trillion. Give or take 100 million. Well, all the talk of price action moving yesterday inspired her contrarian nature to do, well, the exact opposite and sullen protest. Despite a lackluster attempt at a push-up, she peaked out 29.4 before returning back down to her docile state, finding a bottom and a bounce at 29K, and is at the dirt to a time of production. 29.2, spending the day within a $300 range, which is at this price point less than a 1% move. Our channel of eternal monotony exit points are heartbreakingly optimistic, up at 29.8, and stubbornly problematic down at 28.2, a number we've talked about every day this week. Now over on the ding dong, look at the support we've received here. Save. For these 2 days, we've stayed within a 2% swing range for 11 days. And where is the level we're at now? Well, it's at the 38.2% fib, don't you know? Then there's the 50% fib down at, you guessed it, 28.2. Then there's the goldenest of golden ratios, the Siggity 1.8% fib at a 27.4. Quick look at the Wookiee. He sees we're in the passionate throes of a spinning top candle. A candle of market indecision and equilibrium. A place where fatigue has set in for both the bulls and the bears, and ultimately a level I'd like to hold, because the next jump down from here would be the 50% fib, which is at, for the love of Pete, 28.2. And one last thing for all the lovers of watching financial paint dry on the monthly. As you know, we carved out a red candle in July. The last time we did that was back in 2019. And what happened after that red candle? Well, she decided to give back another 33% to the downside. Not including this black swan, but we don't include that, and should stop even referring to it as anything but a man-made black swan. But where would a 33% downside take us right now? Well, brace yourself, my friends. A 33% loss from here would take us to 19.2. But here's the good news. Back in July 2019, after she sloughed off the 33% downside, we went on to an 880% rally, which would take us right now, after the 33% downside, to 190K. And would you look at that, my friend? The sun's up. It's another beautiful day here on planet Earth. A day none of us were guaranteed. We're not guaranteed these days, but we're lucky enough to have them anyway. So get out there and knock them dead. And remember, We're playing the same game as our psychopathic elected elites. That's right, it's the long game. So zoom out and have a fantastic day. And we'll be going live right away, so grab yourself a cup of coffee. Join me for a quick one. And by all means, it's the weekend, so sing me out, won't you? I'll run the banks of boom dish bang. Whoa. Ching. Have a great weekend, everybody. Another beautiful day here on Planet Earth. A day none of us are guaranteed. We're not guaranteed these days, but we're lucky enough to have them. I'm here on the porch in the little couch with Fibonacci, the psychopathic half Siamese, half ragdoll cat. He's a good-looking cat, but make no mistake, he's a psychopath. Good morning, Terry Rooster, Das Peach. I remember when I was really young, First Choice and Super Channel was like Canada's version of like a movie channel, and all it run was, it would only play Das Boot, Clan of the Cavemen, and Victor Victoria. 3 movies. And that's what you paid, like, who knows back then, $50 a month. Das Peach, Ivan's the name, Terry Crow in Kansas. Squeaky McGee, Randy a Bite, Metal, Family. Troy N, Johnny December in Belize, Misco. How you doing, Misco? Sneaky Pete Vaporizer in Canada. Stacey in 93. Who else we got here? Mike Loney, Denny Kane, Louis Bernard, Bobby Stevenson. Good morning from Oklahoma. So, as some of you may know, I do this show on BitBoy's channel called Around the Blockchain. And it's a fun little, I feel it's an important show because it brings a bunch of crypto people from all aspects of the community. Everyone has their own little specialty or niche or whatever, and we kind of just talk about things that are going on. It's kind of like a daily content thing about what's in the news, etc., etc. And when I started doing it, I would get this email or text from a guy named Drew. And not that I knew everyone on the channel, but I thought I kind of had seen or heard of anyone just when I was on the channel, but I had never heard of Drew before. So moving forward, I noticed Drew started working the board on, Johnny December says, love ATB and blockchain basement. Yeah, me too. He started working the board, and I noticed a frequency in his tone and the way he would attack certain things. I was like, this is an interesting character in the BitBoy big scheme of things. And then there's a plane. Then he started doing his own videos. And as soon as I saw him, I'm like, there it is. That's the frequency that I was hearing in his communication on the channel, because I can tell you probably can't, I don't know, speak your mind 100% freely on those live streams because they're very popular, and there probably has to stay to a middle ground, but I could hear the frequency a bit. And once I started seeing his videos, I'm like, there it is. That's exactly what I thought was going to come from this guy, and sure enough, he did. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have Drew right here. The Druth. How you doing?
Dude, I'm awesome. I'm awesome, man.
Now you're kind word. Oh, you're welcome. I love those videos. Those videos are great. Like from the first time I saw them, I'm like, so I have a question.
Yeah.
Was it a hard sell to get that kind of theme on the channel? Because I know they're kind of, I wouldn't say they're middle of the road, because anyone in crypto is slightly anarchistic, right? But they definitely weren't leaning on, and I have a link to your latest video, the 9/11 and the Pentagon one in the description, so check it out. Was it a hard sell to get that theme on?
No, honestly, no. I wouldn't say so. I think TJ definitely understood. They've watched my first channel. I started a channel when I first came onto the BitBoy team. Started a YouTube channel, and it took maybe 5 days of me speaking in metaphors for it to be
Mm-hmm.
completely deemed a violation or a danger to society or whatever. And I do a lot of kind of holding back myself on YouTube. I let it loose on Rumble. You'll get my sweaty, actual, like, all the spicy word included, you know, explosive information on Rumble. But I've learned that, yeah, to kind of just approach things from a more reasonable way on YouTube because I'm aggravated, people are aggravated, but we still need to communicate our
Right.
ideas effectively to be heard. So, yeah,
Was there?
that's
Have you had any? What are they called? X's or strikes from that content?
no, no, that is
Hmm.
the crazy thing. And interesting, Instagram has decided to really push it
Really?
as of recently, which I can't wrap my head around. I've had to make multiple Instagram accounts over the last few years to keep in contact with my music fans and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, for some reason, Instagram has been pushing the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. information about the CIA. It's been pushing the information about JP Morgan and the Titanic and the Olympics. So yeah, it's been kind of interesting.
Isn't that bizarre? It's almost like they've changed their narrative. They're like, okay, we're on board with this now.
Yeah, yeah. I think that they're realizing people are waking up and that they're outnumbered, well outnumbered about the people that are awake, and so they're having to change their business model. So
They say that there's
it
an
looks like we have an
echo.
echo. I have it in my ear, so I don't know where it
Let me
might be coming from.
see if it's coming from me here. I did have. It's usually user error on my side. Say something now. I want to see if I
Yeah,
fixed it.
check it. Check 1, 2.
Now I can't
Syphilis.
hear anything.
You can't hear it. The
How about
battle of the
now?
tech stuff.
There's a little button
Check
I
it.
just pressed.
You
Better.
touched a button. Is it better? It says better. Yeah,
Fixed.
I don't know. Yeah, so I want to kind of riff on that. So,
Hmm.
I self-censor myself to stay available to the public, right? I've learned, and I self-censor in a way that still gets the information out there, right? I've been shut off of YouTube for, just citing documents that Soros himself wrote, right? These are public information documents. He's talking. Actually, the linchpin in why I was last banned off YouTube was for bringing up um, basically the potential connection to HARP, Turkey, and the refusal of Turkey to send more tanks into the Ukraine to expand this into Article 5 between Ukraine and Russia. And I was highlighting the potential usage of HARP in Turkey to cause the earthquakes because of radio frequencies that were captured at the time it happened. 70,000 people died, right? It was a big event. No one really talks about it. That just happened. And George Soros wrote a document about Eastern Europeans filling those body bags through these means. And so I highlighted that, and then just like that. Yeah, but that tells me I'm right over the target, right?
Hmm.
When they uh when they come at you like that. And I just started the channel, I had like 200 people, high engagement, and wasn't really exposed that way. But that is a big risk I run in the blockchain basement, making those videos. It's we're going straight for the head of the snake, and
That's awesome.
it's sketchy, but it's amazing that TJ and the team is allowing me to do so.
Yeah.
Something I never thought I'd find. So
I was actually surprised, just because it's such a risky at the time, maybe not so risky now, but when you first started uploading those videos, it was still risky. It was like dicey
oh yeah,
whether they were going to happen. You're a
oh yeah.
musician, right?
Yes, I've been a heavy metal singer for majority of my life. I'm playing a show in Denver August 19th, Flood of Soul. And yeah, I've been a heavy metal singer for a long while. I started music playing the bass for like hip hop bands, and I dabbled in the violin and all kinds of instruments. Really, every time someone would quit, I'd learn their instrument and keep
Hmm.
the train moving forward. But yeah, heavy into music for a big portion of my life, and pretty excited to kind of combine the two. I made some parody songs making fun of Gensler. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Just when I'm bored out here in Georgia, I don't have any band or any group out here, so I'll be going back to Denver just for reunion shows and just keeping that stuff alive.
What's the
So,
band called?
Flood of Souls.
Flood of Souls.
Yep.
So, you know Pro Tools then? Pro Tools, the
I
software?
know how to I know how to record on it. I've used it. I wouldn't venture to say I know it. I just relearn it every time it's time to go use
Okay.
it again.
Well, Pro Tools factors into my Forrest Gumpian existence because when I was back in the day trading currency, the London session, which is like 2 in the morning to 8 in the morning, I would just sit there on YouTube while I was waiting for the next bus to come or trade to come, right? And I wanted to do a tutorial on Pro Tools 7. And when I put in Pro Tools 7, came up, but on the suggested videos, it said, "Why did Building 7 fall?"
Mm.
And I remember seeing that video, and then up until then, I was just do la la la, kind of just still asleep, going through my life, not really thinking about what happened in 9/11. And then when I saw that video, I was just like, holy shit, why did Building 7 fall? And from there on, my whole life has been completely different. Was there a
Right.
moment in your life like that where it was like, oh snap, what the hell is that?
Yeah, I honestly I grew up very focused on 9/11, what happened. I did some college work in mechanical engineering, and when I combined kind of the knowledge I had gained in mechanical engineering to the process of the second, third largest high rise in the world falling at the hand of jet fuel, supposedly melting the internal steel beam structures. But then on top of that, Building 7, then on top of that, Pentagon fumbling the entire, more than the entire federal budget, and then releasing the info that day of. You know, then we have Goldman Sachs coming out of Manhattan that month declaring that there will be a change in world trade dominance and that China and Russia is coming to take it from us. Goldman Sachs published that idea themselves. They came up with the idea themselves that month out of Manhattan. And thinking about it now that we've had 2 decades of hindsight, uh, yeah, there's a controlled opposition situation. I feel like, you know, and the people that cheer for their side to win, or it's all the same side. They're
Mm-hmm.
literally they just want to stir you into civil unrest so that you bend the knee and beg for their help. They
Mm-hmm.
need you to beg for their help. That's the goal here. So, and then, but, when I was growing up, my family's military, and I've had some connections to higher ranking generals that have given my family good information, not like hard sided, but basically just saying, stack beans and bullets, get your stuff together. And I never understood why. Um, I did it for probably about like 10 years without understanding why. And then the pandemic hit, and everyone's fleeing to the grocery stores to, grab all their food and everything like that. And I was sitting at home, and I didn't have any need for that stuff. So then I used my excess capital at the time, March 2020, to basically just put my entire butt on the line financially by throwing everything I had into cryptocurrency at those lows. Um, because I'd been watching it since the 2017 run. I was on the up and come. I didn't really have like too much money, but by the time uh, COVID happened, I had gained about $6,000 to use. And then obviously did that. The portfolio went crazy. I still have the majority of that portfolio, but I took the great profits from that. And now I'm just like rinsing and repeating, and the whole goal for myself at this point is just to become financially sovereign so that I don't end up in a position of weakness when they do rug pull via civil unrest or some kind of electronic event. Um, so that's why I'm, like I'm out here in Georgia. I got my woods behind me, and there's, lots of generator houses and stuff. I've been able to, I take crypto and turn it into just, physical stuff around me all the time. So I'm always taking profits to try and get the next generator and a short barrel, whatever, all the things. Because
How
I
long can
really
you
feel
last
like
now?
I could probably, well, I got animals around me, so depending on, without outside interference, I could last for quite a long time. So yeah, now, I'm in Georgia. It's just all about building community, getting to know, who's around me, my neighbors, the topography. It's not looking good on the macro side still. It still looks
Mhm.
like Operation Lockstep is in perfect queue, and they're probably gonna it's either going to be another panic or a climate crisis, right? This climate crisis narrative is what they're laying out in front of us, trying to
Hmm.
set the
What do you
stage
think
for it.
about the dates 2025, 2027, and 2030? Are those on your kind of timeline grid as anything
Yeah,
fundamentally special?
yep. China invading Taiwan in 2025 is what I'm watching for. 2030, I'm looking for a potential Bretton Woods 2.0 situation, a resolution via some hardcore, conflict between we have U.S. and Russia and China on two sides. They're going to clash, and then the winner, in my opinion, is going to be the deciding factor on what fiat currencies are going to be backed by in the Bretton Woods 2.0 movement. I think that's coming in around the 2030 timeframe. I don't think Agenda 2030 is going to work out for World Economic Forum. They're pushing that back to 2050. So they're kind of like backing up a little bit. They realize, oh snap, people are getting more nationalist on us. They're getting a little bit more hardcore. So we're gonna have to walk this back, maybe go after the next generation, right? So you push
Hmm.
it to 2050.
Well, sometimes in my
But
little
yeah,
bubble,
2025 to Taiwan.
oh, I just heard an echo there. In my little bubble, I think that people are kind of waking up and there is a movement and the pendulum is swinging, and I start wholeheartedly believing that. And then I'll like make a trip to Home Depot or Walmart and I'll just see people
Taiwan.
masked up and just towing that whatever the government narrative. And I'm like, oh, maybe I am in a bubble. Have you noticed that it's changing where you are amongst like your coworkers and maybe friends and where you're living?
My coworkers are awake, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, anyone that's like pretty intelligent is awake. I don't think the majority of the population is very intelligent though at this point. I think that we've been dumbed down the same way that Romans get dumbed down with free bread and gladiator
Mm-hmm.
work, right? You got McDonald's and football out here. So I think that the majority are not awake, but it doesn't take many good men to really change the course of history. I
Mm-hmm.
really focus on that because they talk about you can't fight a war, you can't do anything against F-16s. Well, guess what? You can't fit your family inside of an F-16 either. So there's a very human aspect of conflict that still remains, and I do feel like for me in my specific demographic, like there's a lot of dudes like me. You know what I mean? But you go to the city center, you go to, where the population is in the thousands and you got people stacked on top of each other, they're all sheep, and so I stay very far away from city centers. I would never move to any type of city center. I think that the larger the group of people, the stupider they become, it
Mm-hmm.
feels like. Yeah, but you know,
In your video with the 2.3 trillion dollars going missing, there's that cliche that every generation needs a revolution. And when that information comes back at me again and again, I'm like, well, if that isn't a moment where people should just throw down and rip the power apparatus down, 2.3 trillion dollars just missing, and it's just like, sorry, it's gone. Right. Meanwhile, the IRS
right.
is hounding $600 Venmos and whatnot. Like, if that doesn't cause a revolution, do you think that anything can at this point?
Well, the distraction action at the time of 9/11 was incredible, right? Because they convinced the American public, like, F Iraqis, and they look similar to Afghanis. F those guys too, and then F the Pakistanis, and then oh Syria, you kind of look the same. We're going after you too. You know what I mean? It was this insane psyop on people to basically just, you know, not trust and feel like they are being targeted by the entirety of the Middle East was
Mm-hmm.
basically the motif of our media for a long time, which is really detrimental, right? And it's funny because now we have a lot of Middle Eastern and Muslim people in the country, and they're destroying these LGBTQ narratives of what they're trying to do with children in the school. Like Muslims are serious about protecting their children, right? They're finding out
Oh
real
yeah,
quick how traditional that
that's the line.
subsect is. Yeah. So, but yeah, see, I just wanted to touch on that. Could you repeat your first part of the question though?
With if 2.3 trillion going missing and then just saying oops sorry, meanwhile the IRS is hounding them for
Mhm.
$600 Venmos, and every generation needs a
Yeah.
revolution. If that doesn't instill a revolution, can anything at this point?
Well, all right. So I think that we have gotten a lot closer since the panic from that. I think that there's a lot of people that weren't strong enough at the time to resist the zip zip,
Mm-hmm.
and now they realize it's in them. People are dropping around them. They've been duped. The gloves are starting to come off in a metaphysical way for people, essentially. Even those that had taken it realize that it's probably a farce. They're pretty feisty as well. Ever since, like my mindset used to be 1 in 10,000, right? I would say it was like way out there when I was growing up. Like when I saw the Google car driving down the street, I was like, I was getting ready to hit the window out with a rock, you know what I mean? And that was nowhere to be found. No one cared about AI or control or anything like that back then. Um, Now I feel like it's much more common. I'd probably say about 4 out of 10 people in my demographic are pretty awake, and
Hmm.
you know, I I think that the financial strain that people are feeling um, is going to push them even closer to that. Now, it's not that we don't need to do it physically. We can do it financially, right? That's the beauty of Bitcoin is because if you take that sovereign control of your finance away from them, that's the power in it, right? Destroying their control of capital movements. Capital flight is their number one enemy, right? It's never been Russia or Ukraine or China or any of these aliens, right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
their real enemy is not that. It's capital flight because that's their control mechanism. So that's where the absolute power of Bitcoin comes in, and we can do it very peacefully through just essentially taking the control back of our finance through that avenue first, and then the rest of the cards would fall. And beyond that, if they did, they would never try to do martial law here. I'm just going to come out and say it. They can't do martial law here. You see how effective they are when they have massive disasters in different states. There's maybe two FEMA workers, right? Like the federal government, they act real, real big, but they're a gigantic, ineffective machine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I think that there is a potential for people to rise up and be effective in that way, but I don't think we need to because we can be much more powerful on the peaceful side with capital flight and Bitcoin. So
You have kids, right?
yeah, I got lots of kids. I got baby twins, 7-year old, and a 5-year old. So yeah, I
Nice.
got a whole crew.
So how do you design your future and their future, wading through what's going on now, both
Yeah,
financially and with the school system, and just keeping them awake right off the bat?
yeah. So my design for like physical design, what I have is just a few acres that I plan on. I'm pretty close to killing my mortgage here. So what the goal is after that is to build multiple different small houses on my property so that my children don't get destroyed by inflationary pressures. Like, in my opinion, it's going to be dang near impossible for middle or lower class people to own a home in 10, 15 years from now. So I am taking upon myself to build houses I have a prairie down there that I'm going to be putting two of them on. I'm going to be extending out this huge back portion and going into the woods back there as well because I need to make about 4 different home locations for the total of my family before I'm dead. And the schooling thing, I have actually had a really good luck with the school that they are in. I I pay very, very close attention to what's inside that classroom, and I'm very pleased with what I've found so far. So, that really isn't an issue for me yet. I'm always checking in with my kids though, and doing it in a not like, hey, did they say this word to you? Like, hey, talk about your day. Be soft-sided, do some prodding, questioning. Did did you do any races, right? Asking them, and then
Hmm.
leave them to, if they hear any race baiting information in their school, then I will know about it, right? If that were to bleed into my school system, I would absolutely be taking care of their education myself. But I have gotten lucky so far, and it seems to be going well. So cautiously optimistic, right?
Yeah.
But always worrying about it. And for the other sides of things, I've got my boy an armory of Nerf guns, right? I'm teaching him a little 22 action, so he's getting well and good on that. My daughter, I'm just making sure that she is very knowledgeable and interested in reading or learning, right? Like really sparking that energy and that joy, staying away from the devices, right? Like we're talking on a device right now, but we're using it as a tool. You don't want to use electronic devices as a like a drug, essentially. Like you're just sitting there, you're
Yeah.
scrolling, you're going through all this stuff. Like use it as a tool. I go through Twitter for information, right? I'm spotting information. I use Google for information. I always have. I was a headhunter before this, finding people's information. So I always viewed the internet as a tool. I'm teaching the kids how to use it as a tool, not as just this pacifier. Like when you go to the grocery store and every single kid has their own tablet, right? The family's completely
Yeah.
disconnected. They're hooked. Like they're hooked.
Hmm.
There's no human interaction, and they try to take away a lot of the developmental abilities of kids during panning season with the covering of the mask. You can't see their physical emotion on their face. Kids can't decipher what you're saying through your eyes, and they take
Hmm.
a lot of information in visually to begin with. That's how they're developing. So I had to leave Boulder, right? I had to leave Colorado because they were doing that. I went through a super painful process, moved across the country to get away from an entire society. It felt like at the time. It's
Yeah.
still like that in Boulder. I had to move everything across the country and vote with my feet to get out into the woods, get away from those types of people, because it's not that I am intrinsically opposed to them. They've just been duped, and they're they're stealing their childhood away from their
Right.
kids. So yeah, it was not easy. It was not, I mean, twins were super young. They're babies when I moved us all across the country. Sold off 70% of the stuff inside of my gigantic house. I went from a huge house to a tiny house with big land, right?
Hmm.
There's much more value, in my opinion, big land. Because now there's chickens down there, and there's
Right.
like deer and all that stuff. I worry less about having food long term. So
Yeah, I find it actually an advantage as a father with a boy when society is getting weak, because I mean I always had a plan on raising my son to be strong and with a ton of skills. It's like just I skill him up on every level, whether it's music or martial
yeah,
arts, and just thinking and critical thinking. And just when everyone's just laying down and they're accepting being weak and losing's fine, like the one thing I've noticed is that they're so like kids absorb so much so fast that I almost have to put on the brakes sometimes, because he takes everything that I'm thinking and he fully understands it and believes it, to the point where at his school, when everyone was wearing masks, right, I was like, don't wear masks, just take your mask to school and don't wear it, right? If they say put it on, just put it on and take it off, right? Just you don't have to wear it. You understand what these masks are. And so when he was leaving one day, he was the teacher with the the teacher with the mask was waving at Duke, and he yells back at her, "You're a government slave!" And I was just like, Duke. It's like that's dad and
dude,
Duke talk. You can't say that to
yeah,
those people.
yeah,
Actually,
yeah. My daughter, she was like, my daughter once accidentally let it slip. She's like, Dad, are they sick in the head?
well,
Because
they
they were
are.
wearing the masks and stuff.
They are sick.
Yeah,
I
it
told him
happens.
too. I go, be wary of the people that are wearing masks because something's wrong with them. Either just, if you think logically they're unhealthy physically, maybe that's why they're wearing masks. But if they're not unhealthy physically, there's something wrong mentally that they think that this is, you know, protecting them from something. You know, so there's something wrong with them. I actually moved them from a public school to a private school this year because, there he is. Hey, buddy. My sister is an administrator in the school board, and I asked her what was coming. Hold on, buddy. Have you ever met Truth?
No.
Oh,
What's up?
Good Boys channel. Say hi. How's it going?
How you doing, buddy?
I asked her what's coming down the pipe next year when it comes to the gender issues and what's going to be going on inside the school and what's not going to go on inside the school, so to speak, if you know what I'm talking about. And she's like, well, there's talk that when it comes, there's nothing we can do and it's just going to be implemented. So I was like, okay, check please. And I enrolled him in this private school where I know that that's probably not going to happen. And if it is, well, I just pull them out of that too. But that's the last thing. They actually came for the kids there, a slow push to get them vaccinated. And I had to go there every day, drop them off and go to the office. I'm like, you're not vaccinating this kid. Oh, no, we're not doing it. It's all going to be parental supervision. I'm like, well, you now know that I will never let that happen. Just, you need to know this. And I did it about a week straight, right? Just so they understood. Right. And then it went away. We stopped getting the letters and, you know, poor parents probably had no idea that was going on. In Winnipeg, in Canada, it's sad, really.
Well,
that's crazy. Yeah, I go through same stuff. Same stuff. Even going to the doctor, right? I have the super young ones. I'm trying to just stagger them and not hit them with all 72 shots before they're 3 years old or whatever. I'm trying to spread it out so they have an immune system to practice with. And even just trying to do that is an absolute fist fight, right? Like with words, obviously, but
it's so hard, isn't it? You got pushback from everyone.
It's insane, and it's not even like, because usually I'm at work. It's my wife. She has to do it, right? And then they pressure you. They make you feel, you know, kind of out of sorts, and that you're the non-norm and you're at risk, right? But yeah, I mean, like my mom's a CSI, has been for I think 25 years, and just what I've learned through watching her deal with all of the results of human bodies being pushed to their extremities. Human body is an incredible healing machine, right? Like our body and our immune system that we have inside of us that God gave us is absolutely incredible. And so I feel a lot more value in just letting the virus come to me, letting my body figure it out itself without synthetics or anything like that. And then they tried to mandate it and make it, you know, mandatory. When I saw that, dude, I literally just joined the side that was supposed to be enforcing it, and then I refused to enforce it. That's what I did, because the society needs people like that, right? Yeah, you fight it.
I'm sorry, buddy.
It was crazy. Like
I wrote down some things. I wrote on this book.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
I don't know.
Buddy.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I wrote down the names of people that were in the chat. Drew,
man.
I can't express how appreciative I am of you joining me on this Friday morning. It's great to talk to someone like-minded and especially into Bitcoin and crypto and creating content. I hope everyone goes.
You were my favorite TA guy.
Oh,
you were the one I was watching in 2019, 2020, right at like you had the Bitcoin Morning TA.
Yeah.
Literally every single day, I would catch your show. So it's honestly kind of surreal that I met you. Like I've met Alex Jones and all that stuff, but I feel I feel like I'm more excited almost to meet you because I've followed you for so long.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know that.
It's just a blessing to be able to. Yeah. So
thanks a lot. That's great.
Yeah, man.
Well, Duke's gonna sing us out here. Hold on, Duke. And then we're going to say goodbye to everybody. We're not doing the piano stream today because we're going out to the lake. So we'll see you next weekend for the piano stream. But come on, Duke. Are you bullish or bearish on the market? Bullish?
I know Nanny's
he's bullish because Nanny's watching. Okay, buddy. Well, sing us out.
What brings singing?
Look in the camera, buddy.
That's why it's a long game. So zoom out and have a fantastic day. I want the banks, the boom, the spank, Bitcoin, crypto.
Love it.
Thank you, Drew. Take care, everybody. See you later. See you next week.
Make sure you like and subscribe.